Howdy everyone, we got a Siege revamp update coming up, so let's get into it. So the last update we had for Siege that was on this scale was back in 2022. Really, Siege needs changes. It's one of those pieces of content that has always needed a change, but it has just never gotten that change it needs. There's still a lot that needs to be done with Siege in general, but overall, within, at least if you've been playing for the past year or so, you'll notice that there have been more quality of life updates, just overall in general, to improve the streamlining of playing Siege and managing the guild and all the members within it that participate in the content that goes on in the guild. So this update is going to be a very similar quality of life, but also slight game change update. So I would highly recommend you go and read this yourself, because there's a little bit of data that I'm not going to be able to cover. I'm going to try to go through this as quick as I can to respect your time. So a lot of this is just explaining, their gratitude for playing the game, mentioning things about guilds, how they're run, last update 2022, mentioning their previous update. So let's get into it. This top section is kind of like in short of how it's going to go. The architecture of points given to guilds based on the secret results will change. So this basically means that the first place guild will get more points. This is in an effort to, better balance how the ladder is, because if you're familiar with how the ladder is right now, especially closer to the end of season when it comes to the tournament, you can really have guilds fighting each other that don't really make sense. There'll usually be one top guild that just dominates in blue maps, which means that they just cover the whole map with their bases. Or it ends up being a 1v1 between two top guilds, and then the third guild comes in later and either gets second place or is able to secure an easy first place. So hopefully this update will adjust the rankings a bit, reflect that a bit better, maybe not be as unbalanced, and also to give a bit of leeway towards the end of season, to where the last couple sieges don't dictate whether you make tournament or not, because it really doesn't make sense if you get lucky and then just lose your first round of tournament, but you made tournament, when other guilds have had a better performance, but they may not have gotten as lucky of matchmaking. So hopefully that issue is addressed. New rewards will be added. This is very similar to the rewards that are in Inner Server Guild War and Inner Server Arena, where you get experience every time you win a battle, lose a battle, and whenever the siege ends. This also includes tournament battles as well. So that's going to be just more rewards, more free stuff. AI for attack, skills, and defense decks will be improved. This is an effort for them to go and adjust the AI, because currently right now, if you go in and attack a defense, ideally you should be preparing for the worst scenario. But sometimes you'll go into a defense and it derps, as in it does absolutely nothing. It'll use S1 or just not the skill you want it to. For example, they actually mentioned later on here, Clara Savannah Tessarian. Of course, Clara is going to use her S3 if she's full HP, but if Savannah uses her S1, it's not really that great a follow-up. So that's something that they're going to be implementing. They don't explain how they're going to do it, but that's something they're going to do. Other improvements, this refers to notifications. So say, for example, your phone is to your side, you're not paying attention. Basically, an optional to get little pings on your phone to let you know when a base is open or when you can attack. I do wonder if in the future they'll make it to where guild leaders and co-leaders and such can actually ping guild leaders. Currently, right now, if you want to get a hold of someone to attack or anything, you have to do it through a third-party application such as Discord. So at least respectfully, if you can do it in-game manually, it would be interesting. And then adding a free rune removal coupon to the guild shop, which is more so important towards Siege Tournament, where you're doing a lot more rune swapping. Helps a bit with the mana, even though we get a lot more mana nowadays. And then a UI that displays participation rate, victory rate statistics of guild members in a glance will be added. So this is very similar to SWGT. If you're not familiar with what that is, it is a program created by Sarusa, where it basically takes your account's JSON file and sorts it into a complete data of the account, what your rune is, quality is like, and what monsters you have, artifacts and everything, and it compares it to your guildies, and it allows you to compare yourself to your guild to get an idea of how your account holds up. It also allows guild leaders to see what monsters you have, to what defenses the guild altogether can build. So it's a very important tool to manage a top level siege guild, because you gotta remember you're managing 30 players, which is not easy to do without some kind of data management. In games like Summoner's War, where there's so much data that you have to go through, so much information, you need a way to sort it. There's not a built-in Excel spreadsheet in Summoner's War, so it needs to be done automatically to save people time, and that's kind of what they're going to implement in game, which is great. I do hope that SWGT will still be around, because that's still a third-party tool that's more flexible, you know. And it has a better idea what the players want. So, but this is a good start, so that you're not limited to where you have to use the application. You can still use what CloudTears provides in game, which is great. Testable battle area exclusive for guild members will be added. This is kind of like a little test area. It's like a bulletin board, and what it is, it's going to allow you to put a defense up, and then your guildies can go and attack it and just test into it. They'll even be able to remove their runes and artifacts for free to, you know, build their offense to best go up against it. And you can leave comments on the defense saying, hey, you need to fix the tuning. You need to put minus damage from X. You need to put plus damage on X. This doesn't have enough accuracy. You need 100 res. You can leave comments like that to your guildie's defenses, which is very great, because right now, the way testing is for defenses, guild chat only allows a certain amount of messages, and that's going to get lost if you're not in the game. And the only other way to do that is via Discord or any other third-party application, Line, whatever your guild uses. So this is a very good way to basically be like, okay, I'm going to log in. Do we have any defenses we want to test? Okay, I feel like testing defense, and I'll comment on it. Gives you an idea of who also is participating in defense testing, discussion, and creation. So this is actually a really good tool for guilds. And then the very last thing, World Guild Battle, you will be able to save the rune and artifact settings using defense decks separately. This is very similar to a few years ago when they made it to where RTA and outside of RTA, the rune and artifacts are separate. Back then we didn't have artifacts, just runes, but runes and artifacts are separate to where you're not having to stretch out runes, or you're not building RTA monsters that you use on siege offense and defense because they have your best runes. That's kind of what happened previously with siege. For example, Aegir was popular in RTA at the time, so there were Aegir siege defenses, which, you know, doesn't really make sense, because that means that RTA is dictating siege meta. So with this change for a World Guild Battle, it's actually pretty big, because the current issue right now is if you are someone in a guild that you have a lot of defenses that you're having to provide for your guild, but you also have the same defenses or different defenses in World Guild Battle, that means that you're having to do more micromanaging, which is kind of I think the big thing that that Siege has to deal with is that because it takes so much time, the less micromanagement you have to do on your end, the better. So it's going to be a very good change to not be like, oh man, I left something unruined in World Guild Battle and my defense lost. Or you don't have to worry about having your best runes in World Guild Battle, Siege, things like that. This is a very good change. I think this is also going to be great because that means that people are going to be putting their best defenses, their best runes and artifacts on their World Guild Battle monsters, which means they might be a little bit harder to deal with. And then also you're going to encounter less free defenses because someone forgot to put runes. So I think this is going to be a very, very good change for World Guild Battle. This is a bit in detail of all the changes. Again, I highly recommend you go through and read this to detail because there's a lot to go through. You should be doing this for every update. I will say though that the only thing that wasn't specifically mentioned in detail was the AI for defenses and how they're going to change that. They didn't explain how they're going to do it. They just said they know the concern of players and that's what they're going to be working on. So we'll see what happens. They did mention that these updates are going to be in different batches. They're not going to just throw all of them all at once and then overwhelm players. I guess they want to go through like a few patches at a time and then get feedback, which hopefully that feedback is addressed as well. The only other thing that's missing that I guess some players have been asking for, just different changes to the siege map and also macro, and of course like balance changes. But because really the only thing we've gotten changed in the siege map is that extra lane added, I believe, around like the 8 and 12 towers, outer towers. They added an extra little lane to connect like towers are connected to, but I mean that's the only like map change excluding tournament, which is a different map that is actually done mid-season. They're missing special towers for during the season and also making special towers more impactful during tournament. I think that's going to be a big change that they're going to have to work on for Siege in general. If you're comparing Siege as a game itself, it's a very unique game, but you have to remember that, you know, it can get kind of stale. I mean, it's been like this for years. A lot of other games, shooting games, they have different maps, for example. You know, different maps, so you're not just doing the same exact loadout and every single time you play the game. So having different maps would be interesting, honestly, or just some kind of change to the map. That's something we're still missing. And hopefully this isn't the only changes they're going to do for 2 years. Hopefully they'll continue to update Siege, because I really believe that if you're going to be playing this game and you're not, you know, you're not trying to get into RTA and you're not worried about trying to get top RTA ranks, Siege is really your main content. Guild content is the main content. So they really have to make sure that it's more streamlined for everybody, better for their time and management, and also to be more enjoyable overall. And another thing I would mention is on macro is that right now you have like one or a few people going over macro, but really it should be a guild effort. If they had more tools that allow all members of a guild to participate within guild map management, I think that would be great as well. I don't have any ideas at the top of my head other than notifications or some kind of a way to where every guildie can affect the map in some way, basically, to where you're not having to rely on one person to go online and fill towers. I think that's one thing, though. I think all guildies can fill towers right now, so that's already a good change. But right now it's like macro deciding which to take and everything, because there's not a playbook. But other than that, really, that's pretty much it. I just want to go over it really quickly. Again mention you should go and look through this yourself, because there's a lot of detail. But in general, this is going to be an update for Siege. Any update is great for Siege, but if they give us more, that would be great as well. So we'll see how these changes go and how those AI changes for defense affect any meta, if there is any. So thank you so much for watching, and yeah, see you next time.